right, so let's just get right into the article. So, more than 1,208 anti-government extremist groups were active across the United States in 2022, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center's latest report on the nationwide prevalence of extremists who target people of color, LGBTQ people, Jewish communities, and other religious minorities. While the overall number of hate and anti-government groups tracked by the SPLC has remained relatively steady in recent years, trends and tactics have changed over time, according to the organization's annual audit. And some groups identified by the organization, which has long analyzed U.S. extremism, gained influence among a segment of elected Republicans. No, you don't say. America is now seeing organizing locally. Okay, let's try that again. America is now seeing organizing locally to pursue a hateful agenda in public view, including the targeting of community safe havens like schools and houses of worship, says Margaret Huang, President and CEO of the Southern Poverty Law Center and SPLC Action Fund, during a virtual press conference Tuesday. As these groups have grown bolder, right-wing lawmakers have acted in lockstep, pushing legislation to control our bodies, to erase Black history in schools, and to criminalize the LGBTQ plus community, she continued. And I've done videos specifically LGBT plus, but also a little bit about the hatred towards blacks. So yeah, you've seen by my channel that this is a thing. Titled The Year in Extremism and Hate 2022, the report attributes some trends to growing GOP extremism, specifically naming some officials in federal and state offices, and cites comments from Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia about the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Yep, if you want to know what hateful shit the GOP believes, just listen to her. Oh my God, she is just horrible. Representative Greene's office and leadership of the U.S. House Freedom Caucus, the group that represents the chamber's most far-right members, did not respond to requests for comment on the report. Is she capable of reading the report? The survey, published annually since 1990, monitors leafletting and recruiting, alt-tech social media platforms, subversion among law enforcement, militia activity, and anti-inclusion campaigns at the school district level. Researchers at Tuesday's press conference said they found increasing extremist activity in numerous states, including Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Ohio, and Virginia. The gunman in the 2022 mass shooting that claimed 10 lives at a Buffalo grocery store in a predominantly black neighborhood had compiled a manifesto based on the racist and anti-Semitic Great Replacement theory, one of the ideologies tracked by SPLC's report, which was also the group of Nazis that marched before the protest in Charlottesville, marching with tiki torches, yelling, "The Jews will not replace us." So, I don't think I have to explain what the Great Replacement theory is. That says it right there. Of the 12 alt-tech social media sites tracked by the SPLC in 2022, 5 of them ranked among the top 10% most visited domains in the U.S., researchers found. The report defined alt-tech sites as platforms and message boards with little to no content moderation. So, Twitter? Gab, one of the platforms that continues to be a safe haven for extremist rhetoric, according to the report, was the site where Robert Bowers, the alleged gunman in the 2018 deadly Pittsburgh synagogue attack, published his anti-refugee screeds before opening fire on 3 Jewish congregations, one that had just hosted a refugee support event. 11 worshippers died in the attack. Bowers is on trial in federal court in Pittsburgh. The SPLC defines hate groups as those that attack or malign people, typically for their immutable characteristics. The report's criteria for anti-government groups include seeing the federal government as an enemy of the people and often spreading the baseless conspiracy theories. The report identified 523 hate and 702 anti-government groups active in 2022. In Wisconsin, the report counted 8 hate groups and 13 anti-government groups. Now, this article is specifying Wisconsin because it's from the Wisconsin Examiner. The activities of several groups are detailed in the 39-page document, including the targeting by Proud Boys, members of more than 40 LGBTQ events in 2022. And I heard that Pride is under attack in many places as well this year. So, the report also detailed some groups' activities in Congress and state legislatures. The Florida-based Moms for Liberty, with chapters throughout the U.S., targeted school curricula, including a chapter in Tennessee that campaigned against a book about Martin Luther King Jr. as anti-white, according to the report. Okay, first off, how can you call yourself Moms for Liberty when you're trying to prevent liberty? I swear Republicans are so good at labeling themselves the opposite of what they actually intend to do. It's like they know that if they came out and said, this is what we believe, that they wouldn't get a lot of support, so they have to trick you. Because why? Anyway, and what the hell about a book that claims that Martin Luther King Jr. was anti-white? I would love to know the details about that, because most likely it's possible that he said something anti-white because he was living in a time where there were a lot of white people who did have it out for black people. Now, there were plenty of white people that were marching with him, so I highly doubt he blanketed that. But, yeah, given the environment he was in, he might have said something a bit harsh. But to say he was anti-white, or that the book is anti-white because it acknowledges his existence or something. Yeah, I would love to know what is the book and what they claim makes it anti-white, because I just can't see it. I mean, I guess I could see it if I squinted really hard and took whatever was said out of context, then I could see it, but as of now, no, don't see it. Moms for Liberty co-founder Tiffany Justice, oh, what an ironic last name, testified in front of Congress in March during a hearing focused on a 2021 FBI memo about threats to local school officials. Okay, that doesn't tell us much. So what was her testimony? Was her testimony that they were attacking school officials? Was she defending the group for attacking school officials? Was she testifying against that behavior? Because let's face it, just because you found something doesn't mean that you still agree with whatever it gets morphed into. I don't know if Moms for Liberty was always a fascist group, or or if it morphed into one. SPLC's report found that militia activity declined after playing an outsized role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol, though a decentralized anti-government movement continues to grow. Well, yeah, a lot of these groups, even when it came time to, in the first indictment of Trump, there wasn't a lot of activity. Well, first off, because they said come on this day, but they didn't say a time or anything. Nothing was set in stone like the January 6th one. But a lot of those members were like, yeah, this is a trick to jail us. This is a trick to arrest us. So a lot of these extremists didn't come. So a lot of them are like, let's lay low for a while until people forget we exist, and then maybe, or if they can get a big enough group like January 6th, that could result in a better outcome for them. Maybe they'll try again. The drop was largely a result of members and leaders being held accountable for their role in the January 6th attack. Yep, said Rachel Carroll Rivas, a deputy director of research, reporting and analysis for SPLC's intelligence project, which puts out the intelligence report. Researchers found that the Oath Keepers, whose founder, Stewart Rhodes, was convicted of seditious conspiracy in the January 6th attack, significantly declined in local chapter numbers. Yeah, I guess, even these nut jobs don't want to be associated with a convicted felon, even if they actually believe in what this convicted felon says. But they just don't want to be associated with him. So, and of course, just the idea that, like I said, they probably want to lay low and let the fallout from January 6th wane before they try anything again. While 4 Proud Boy leaders were convicted of seditious conspiracy in the attack, their chapters have increased to 78 in 2022 from 43 in 2020, but are now more autonomous, with notable growth in Tennessee, said Cassie Miller, senior research analyst for SPLC's intelligence project. That is interesting. So do they think that if it's not a centralized group, that somehow people won't come after them? I don't know. Anti-government groups' tactics shifted and local leafletting and flyering have gone up dramatically, Miller said. And I have heard, especially on Nextdoor, people talking about anti-Semitic flyers that are left on their cars, or on the Wisconsin Reddit, that there are all these leaflets and flyers being left around certain communities that are just disgusting. The report provides several recommendations, including increasing public and private investment in community-centered prevention, advocating for civics and inclusion education in schools, and mandating that local police departments report hate crimes for the FBI's annual report, and holding social media sites accountable. Now, the problem with the mandating that local police departments report hate crimes is great, but the Oath Keepers proved and January 6th proved how many law enforcement actually agree with these views. How do you report on something you agree with to an organization that is set up to prevent these groups from causing trouble. Let's see. And I don't know how you can hold social media sites accountable, because I mean, there's only so much you can do to prevent this. And unfortunately, it could turn into a forbidden fruit situation where people might think, oh, there must be something to this because it's being squashed. So, yeah, hate groups are bad, and the ideology that leads to them is horrible. But at the same time, if we squash it too much, is it giving us the objective we want? Because a lot of people will look at it and wonder, why is this so bad? And there must be something to this, especially when it comes to conspiracy theories. So I'm not quite sure what the answer is to that. Obviously, we have to hold the people who believe this shit to account, and we have to do a better job of calling out misinformation and disinformation, and making people realize that, especially those who have still been duped, that they've still been duped, and to make sure that they understand it's okay. It happens to everybody. Everybody gets duped about something, and try not to make this a personal failing on their part. And then if they refuse to believe it, then mock them to hell. But no. That I will do, but no, if you're trying to actually get these people help and try to draw them out of this cult-like behavior, you have to get to the core of it. Same reason that we have all these immigrants coming, because their home life is so shitty. Now, in the case of January 6th, it was a very strange situation, because these were rich people. These were not poor people who just saw this fantasy that they could get rich at any moment. These were already well-off people who were attacking the Capitol, and I don't know why they believed in this cult, but we have to find out. There's something in their lives that led them to feel like this is somewhere where they're accepted and they belong. And we have to find a way, just like with gangs, we have to find a way to figure out what is it that this group is giving people that they feel they're not getting elsewhere. Because this hate groups would not gain traction if there weren't people willing to believe them at all costs. So there's got to be something about their situation that leads them to find these groups attractive. And maybe it is that they truly are these hateful people. But not everybody is. Some of them just get swept up in the moment, and then they're like, oh, oops. Actually, I think at least one of them testified in front of the January 6th committee that he was duped, and he realized he was duped, and so he just pulled out of it. He didn't want to be a part of it anymore. That's why he was testifying. So it is possible to save these people if they want to be saved. So it's just a matter of, are they reachable? But yeah, it would help to, so those ideas might still be out there, but it's not as attractive. And the only people who believe it are people who were horrible people to begin with. And it's not that you were morphed into being a horrible person because of being sucked into this group. So yeah, I hesitate to close down groups, shut down discussions on social media for that very reason, because it could I mean, yes, a lot of these ideas shouldn't be propagated as good ones, but then again, we should learn that these ideas existed, and that led to such and such. And, to give people a notion that these are not good ideas, and this is why they're not good ideas, as opposed to shutting them down. Because then, if somebody comes across the idea, they will not know how to argue against it, and they might get sucked into whatever. So, yeah, um, that is all for this article, and I will see you guys in the next video.